Trying to inch our way back towards share of normalcy here on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I'm Dan Vespris. Welcome to the show. I mostly have my voice back. I bit the bullet and used various potentially addictive sinus recovery items. This show is brought to you by Afrin. It's not actually, but actually that one. Maybe I should get a new one. So we'll get through. I think that'll help my voice. It'll help with the on-air sniffling. And I'm hoping that we can actually get 2 shows done today, which would be a nice little side bonus. Find me on Twitter at Dan Vespris, DanBesbris. We continue to do a lot of our work over there. We do some of it at Blue Sky. I am Old Man Squad on Blue Sky. And then Instagram has just our video shorts. That's Old Man Squad Fantasy. The main topics, the big things we're going to be covering today off of the Tuesday recap card. Kel'el Ware. He deserves probably multiple sort of meat on the bone emojis here. He has ascended. DeAndre Ayton, after the ball game, it sounded like there was some talk of maybe some calf soreness. And again, like, it's hard to ever really know with these teams that are racing to the bottom. Admittedly, Portland trying a little bit harder. They're off tonight, but then they've got another back-to-back tomorrow and the day after that. It's the tail end of a 5-game and 7-day stretch. So it's sort of the perfect time to rest Ayton, meaning maybe we keep an eye out for a Robert Williams situation. Scoot Henderson, Nikola Jovic continue to look good. Kelly Oubre in his role right now. Bilal Coulibaly, there have been a lot of questions about him, and rightfully so, because he's been quite bad lately, but did finally have a better ball game against the goofball Lakers defense. And then obviously we'll just go through the card kind of as a whole from yesterday and go through the 5 games. It wasn't a particularly busy day, so don't expect this to be the world's longest show. Plus, if I'm going to do 2 today, I certainly can't spend copious time on each one of them, or these flu symptoms will kind of crop back up again. First one was the battle for New York. It went about the way you expected, although it was a closer ball game than I think most would have assumed. Knicks got the win. No surprises on the Knicks side. All 5 starters played big minutes. It's the Tom Thibodeau way. And our OG Anunoby buy low from last week is starting to look like a pretty good one. But the story in this game has to be over on the Brooklyn side, where D'Angelo Russell, who's going to sit out their second half of their back-to-back. In fact, it sounds like pretty much everybody for Brooklyn is going to sit out half of, I would assume, every back-to-back. And for some reason, I think there's dirt on my mouse pad, and so the mouse isn't working right now. D'Lo had 23 points, 10 assists, a steal, 3 blocks, 7 out of 7 free throws, 4 3-pointers. Yeah, he missed a lot of his shots, but I sort of don't care. And then he came out after the game and he was like, "Man, it's just so fun to play free basketball again. I'll never take for granted being able to play free." It's like, well, okay, yeah, I get it. You know, you were the scapegoat in LA, but you also don't have to do the shots. I guess I'm not that upset about it. The Lakers have massive issues that moving D'Angelo Russell was not going to solve on its own. They got bigger. They got stronger. But if any of the 3 main guys for the Lakers is bad offensively in a ball game, and if 2 of them are, they're just cooked now. D'Lo was the guy that could kind of mitigate that. But obviously, yes, he was quite bad defensively as well. But a lot of those guys are. D'Lo in his last 4 games in Brooklyn, get this, he's at 26 minutes a game, so he wasn't even ramped up for most of those. This last game was the first one where he was kind of like fully ramped D'Lo. He's averaging 16 and 9 with 1.5 steals, 0.8 blocks. He's hit all 16 of his free throws. He's made 12 threes over that stretch. That's good enough for second round value over those games. And I get it. There's a small sample size thing going on there. Obviously, he's, not going to average 16 and 9 in 26 minutes, but it's actually not that insane to think he could get to 16 and 9 in full starters minutes. And then we'll see what happens when Cam Thomas comes back. We'll also see if Cam Johnson gets traded. It does seem like he's a prime candidate to do so. And D'Lo's just going to go nuts. You could see it in his eyes, and he's not going to accidentally win them games unless he gets really, really hot for a day, and then maybe he'll get benched. But like, anyway, so for Brooklyn on the back-to-back, because everybody is likely out. Claxton's probably resting. D'Lo definitely is resting. Cam Johnson is probably resting. Ben Simmons is still dealing with an illness. You probably get these sort of like one-game pop-ups for guys like Keon Johnson and Tyrese Martin, Day'Ron Sharpe, and Noah Clowney, who, by the way, to his credit, has done a little bit more defensively after it didn't look like that was just there anymore. He still has all kinds of issues with his fantasy game, but at least in his last 5 games, he's at 4 steals and 5 blocks. That's a little better. The previous 5 games, he had no blocks and 4 steals. So again, small improvement. I don't know, man. I don't think that Clowney is that guy. Maybe I should add yet to the end of that. Maybe he will be. And I have him in the very few head-to-head leagues that I'm in. But I don't have him in a single Roto league. I just don't think he doesn't have that stat set. You could look at like a keeper type format. Maybe that's the spot for a Clowney. And I don't know that he's going to get to do much more than he's getting to do already. He's basically getting starters minutes when he's good enough to earn them. He is starting at the moment. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a make or break kind of guy for your fantasy team. You might pick him up and he might have a few good ball games, or he might be bad for a few days, and it'll probably alternate. And at the end of it all, you're probably talking about a guy who's outside the top 100. And if he scratches and claws and somehow gets his way inside of it, it's not going to be by that much. Bet Online. Love those guys. They continue to be the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for online betting in the calendar year 2025, which, by the way, this year sucks so far. But a few wins over on Bet Online might help. Whether you're a seasoned fan or a first-time bettor, Bet Online is your ultimate game day companion. They've got the largest selection of odds on everything from football to the NBA and college basketball, NHL and UFC. Bet Online, thusly, they are the number one sports betting source for the new year. Touchdowns, 3-pointers, and hat tricks. Bet Online has you covered on every game, every play, and every win. Bet Online. The game starts here. Orlando's just out of gas at this point. They can't really afford to lose anybody else, and Cole Anthony was down for a game. So, yeah, you got a little bit more Anthony Black. He had 17 and 7. A lot of usage, and so that's kind of the thing there. Obviously, you would go Paolo. Showed off why he's a very difficult 9-cat guy to roster because of the terrible free throw shooting and turnovers in this one. But like, he's just going to have to do so much that you can basically use him in any format at this point. I'm still not into Wendell Carter Jr. in pretty much any situation. I'll play Cole Anthony when he comes back. KCP had 20 points and 2 steals, kind of a weird game, and basically nothing else. And then again, Anthony Black, 36 minutes, 17 shots he put up. Like, again, if everybody's out, you might be able to convince me to start Anthony Black in a head-to-head league. I'm still not using these guys against the games cap. Orlando's every other day, starting like a week and a half ago, oddly enough, until next Monday. So the schedule's not great. There isn't really like an opportunity to try to milk a few good games out of these dudes. All that to say, you're like, Dan, where are you going with all this? I don't really want anything to do with the fringe guys on Orlando. I'll play Paolo. I mean, I don't have him anywhere, but I would play him if I had him. And I'll play Cole Anthony, who I'm hoping will be back in time for their next ball game tomorrow. It was an illness, so I'd say maybe. But also, I just had the flu, and there's no way I'd be back in one missed basketball game. Like, I got the flu, and I was able to make it through that 2-hour live show on Friday. And that was it. I didn't do anything for about 3 days after that. Oh, crap. All right, I guess we got to put this up on the screen. Oh, man. Bad news breaking. Breaking in a lot of ways. All right, let's throw this up on the screen for a second. Mid-show breaking news. Dallas Mavericks center Dereck Lively has sustained a small fracture in his foot and is expected to miss 2 to 3 months. Sources tell ESPN. Critical loss for the Mavs. This is me reading the Shams Charania tweet. That is crushing. Dereck Lively is a drop. Ah, man, that really hurts. 2 months brings him back at the end of March. And then there would be a ramp up because it's in his foot. It's not in his, finger or something like that where they can get the conditioning right. There is almost no chance that this dude has fantasy value the rest of the year. And if he does, you're talking about the last couple of games of the entire season. Dereck Lively is a drop. Daniel Gafford is the priority trade for guy of the century right now. If you happen to pawn Gafford at some point, holy crap, you just fell into a gold mine. That's a massive get. Congratulations if you had Daniel Gafford. And I'll admit, me saying, trade Gafford when he's rolling like this, when Lively's out, that sounds stupid right now. But also, you'll have to cut me a little bit of slack. I didn't know that Dereck Lively was going to be ruled out for 2 to 3 months. It seemed like he was just going to miss a couple of games with a foot thing, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at most. And now it sounds like it's going to be the rest of the year. So that's a crushing blow. Man, Mavs are in a tough spot. And this is the thing, though, like the year after the finals run, it happens so frequently. I know you're like, well, Dan, Boston's kind of hanging in there. Yeah, they are. They're not super healthy. But also, I don't know how many of the Celtics were like playing through all kinds of stuff the way Luka in particular was on the Mavs side. Those deep playoff runs, when you shorten an off season by 2 months for these guys, it does have a big impact. And the Celtics are so good that we look at 30-13 and we don't even really think twice about it, but they should probably be better than that. Anyway, tough break for the Mavs. Daniel Gafford basically to the moon at this point. And I think now we can probably pivot back over to our regularly scheduled programming. Okay, back we go. On the Toronto side, there really not much in this one. Jakob Poeltl was in foul trouble, if you're wondering why he had a low-minute, poor numbers game going on. Also, this one was kind of a blowout, not like all the way there, but most of the way there. No Emmanuel Quickley still. Bruce Brown at 15, 5, and 5. He's someone I would look at if everybody starts to go down or if he gets moved somewhere. I don't really want to deal with it here. You could maybe slot him into like a schedule level type of role. Same story with Grady Dick. A bunch of guys need to be hurt for him to actually be useful. Meantime, Scotty Barnes is obviously a yes. RJ Barrett in the proper format is a yes. And then Jakob Poeltl you can keep rolling with as well. Portland's kind of fun these days. Maybe it's just because Scoot is finally getting turned loose. Scoot had 11 and 8 in this ball game, which is still pretty good, and this was by far his worst game lately. Jeremy Grant, he's playing right now, meaning you guys know how we feel about that. Try to sell him for literally anything. Literally anything. There was no Anthony Simons in this game, or there was, excuse me. It was a previous game that Simons sat out. So it was nice to see Simons back, Avdia back, and Scoot still rolling. In this one, it was Shaedon Sharpe that moved to the bench, and they've been floating people in and out. He's been on the bench for a couple of ball games. Avdia back in there, and so on and so forth. Let's just go quickly through the players and tell you what to do. DeAndre Ayton, he's a hold, and then you pray, basically, or you try to sell high. Anthony Simons is a sell. Jeremy Grant is a sell. Anybody that has the possibility of being traded or shut down on the Blazers is a sell if you can. Scoot is an add. Sharpe is a punt play, has been since the start. Avdia is a active stash. We've already talked about how he's basically our favorite active stash. Ayo Dosunmu's on that list as well, just for those that are curious. But then he does have some problems. Bad free throw shooting in this ball game. Turnovers tend to be kind of on the high side, although not as much in this one. And then you look at the other centers in Portland, and Robert Williams, only 14 minutes here because Ayton was healthy. If DeAndre sits and you get 20 minutes out of Time Lord, that's a playable number in most formats. Would I pick him up in advance of that? Roto, maybe. Head-to-head, probably not. I'm not doing anything with Donovan Clingan, at least not until he's back on the court. And that's where I sit with the Portland Trailblazers right now. As far as the Heat are concerned, I already mentioned at the outset, Kel'el Ware is the big story in this game, or frankly in this month probably. 20 points. Yahoo had him with 15 rebounds. Basketball Monster has him with 16. I don't actually know which one of those is right at this point. Couple of blocks, couple of threes. His ability to actually step out and shoot a three ball is allowing them now to play this sort of tandem center lineup. Or Bam Adebayo, who only had 22 minutes in this ball game. I expect that to probably be a little bit better. And yes, obviously that helped where a full complement of Adebayo, Kel'el probably doesn't play 39 minutes. The Heat just have a lot of stuff going on. And without getting too far down the Jimmy Butler rabbit hole, Jimmy himself is not playing that hard. I mean, that first of all, 0 fouls. He was a minus 19. He's just not trying out there. And his whole team's going to end up hating him if they don't already. Because he's kind of tanking the competitive nature of their basketball games. There was no Tyler Hero in this one, so that's why Duncan Robinson got 15 shots. That's why Terry Rozier got 13 shots up in only 22 minutes. I'm not going to read too much into that. I don't want to pick up those dudes. Frankly, even if Hero misses another one, I don't think I pick up those guys. Nikola Jovic is still the guy I like among the fringe Heat players. He played 35 minutes, pretty well-rounded fantasy game. So Jovic, add. Ware, add. Robinson, Highsmith, Rozier, Jaquez, ignore. Jimmy Butler, technically this game is good enough to start in fantasy, but yeesh. We got to get Jimmy moved. If you're a ballsy sort, and I have been at times, certainly it's easier on the roto side than head-to-head, this would be your time to try to buy on Jimmy Butler. Because if he gets moved to a team where he cares, he's going to immediately rev it up to that top 30 type of range. But again, you might be sitting on him for a couple of weeks. I still think, almost 100% chance he gets moved. I have no idea how the Heat can sit on him with the way that he's playing and behaving. It's just too much of a dark cloud. The team can't focus with this going on, especially, they could focus a little bit while he was suspended because it was all right, we've got each other. Now we've got this guy playing for our team who has said repeatedly he doesn't want to be here. So even if he was trying hard, everybody would be looking for the moments where he wasn't. And as it stands, he's not trying that hard. So it's not that hard to find. But of course, that does make him a distressed asset. And that's cheap for fantasy. But, got to have big stones to pull that one off. Philly, sounds like there was yelling from the locker room after the ball game, and why not? Tyrese Maxey had a good ball game. Gershon Yabusele had a good ball game. Paul George was sort of meh, and now he's questionable with all the things for their next ball game. I have to admit, for the first time all year, when Embiid got ruled out for whatever it was, a week that last time around, or reevaluated in a week, that was the moment where I started to think, they might actually pull the plug on this season because the bottom of the East is so bad that it felt like forever and ever and ever. All it would take is the Sixers being healthy for 3 consecutive weeks at any point during the season, and they would have rocket boosted probably through the play-in and all the way to a playoff spot. But now they're 7 games back of a playoff spot. They're only 3 out of a play-in, but they've lost 7 games in a row. They've basically lost the juice to fight without Embiid. This last time he went down really took all of the shine off. And I don't know if they've got anything left. So it might be time to just say, screw it. We can go try to get a pick. We've got most of these guys signed next year, not the depth, but the main dudes, and go from there. So that does make me nervous in a way I wasn't on January 1st, but I am now on January 22nd. And admittedly, this is a team to be a little bit careful on, but this is absurd. The fact that they've been this bad just without Embiid, you got to be that's an indictment of the way they've put this thing together. Because if you told me this team didn't have Embiid through the first 3 months of the year. I'd have told you in the East, they're probably around a 500 ball club, maybe a game or two under, not 12 under. The Bulls are 19-25, and they're a dog-do team. What do we do for fantasy? Well, I think I'm souring on the buy low on Paul George. I'm a little worried that he's going to get the plug pulled. I'm not completely off the Joel Embiid buy low in games cap formats. I want to make sure I add that every time because head-to-head, you just can't do it. Games cap, you could get him for like next to nothing now, and we're so far into the year that like in Roto, you've already accrued a lot of stats. So I still think even if he literally does not play a game from now until the end of the season, if you could get Embiid for like a top 75 guy, I would probably do it. Because your fantasy team will be fine if you sacrifice the 8th ranked player. Who the hell is that? Christian Brown? That probably won't get it done. Brandon Ingram? Mikal Bridges? DeAndre Hunter? Your team will be fine without these guys. Just assume you're trading it for 0. And if Embiid shows up even for like a handful of games, then it ends up being a win. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. That's totally fine. I just like a top 75 guy doesn't really help your team all that much. Top 75 higher does, but guys like around 75 to 85, they're really not difference makers. So who cares if they just disappear? Hold on Kelly Oubre. He'll be better than this most ball games. Yabusele, I know he had a good ball game here, but with Andre Drummond back, I wouldn't take that plunge. So Maxey, PG, Oubre. Those are the 3 Sixers you can play right now. Denver handled business in 3 quarters, so the minutes are all over the map. The Nuggets you're starting are obviously Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr., Russ, and Brown are the other guys there. I know Aaron Gordon had a pretty good shooting ball game. It's not worth taking that plunge in 22 minutes. Julian Strother had 23 points in 26 minutes. Also not worth your time. The Wizards are a very, very bad basketball team because the Lakers played poorly and still won this game by 23. Guys, I have bad news. I watch the Lakers every day, and they suck. The Lakers suck, which is a weird thing to say after they blow out a team, but like the second worst team in the NBA right now will probably blow out the Wizards. They've lost 11 games in a row, and the margin of defeat, let's find the last time the Wizards won. Last time the Wizards won a game was January 1st. They beat the Bulls by 18 points. Since then, they've lost by 12 twice, 2 times in a row, oddly enough. 23, 6 to the zombie 76ers, 33, 41, 14, 7. That was an embarrassing one. Suns should have won it by more. 8, 23, and 23. Like, they just don't even play competitive basketball games. From a fantasy standpoint, Kyle Kuzma needs a change of scenery like nobody's business. The Kuzma thing, you guys that have followed me for a long time, you know I want nothing to do with Kyle Kuzma in fantasy basketball. I will say, though, it can't really get any worse than this. He looks slow and disinterested. He probably is both of those things when it comes right down to it. Whoops, excuse me, battering the microphone. Pardon me, everyone. Alex Sarr is a start. Jordan Poole is a start. It's not entirely clear that anyone else on this team is startable every game. JV is not for Roto. Head-to-head, it's fine. He's a plotter. The term for that type of fantasy player is a plotter. Kuzma's been hurting way more than he's been helping. Bilal Coulibaly is the closest to being the third guy you could start. And he was better in this ball game. 17, 6, and 4 with a steal, a couple of blocks, and a three-pointer. That's the kind of lines you're looking for. You want the full, well-rounded stat lines. He just, he's not hitting any shots. And honestly, he looks a little bit fatigued. I'm attempting to hold on to Coulibaly anywhere that I can. And he's relatively well rostered across fantasy leagues because of the games like this last one, where when things are clicking, he gets all the stats. but he's number 142 on the season overall because he's shooting 42% from the field and 76.5 at the free throw line. He doesn't make that many three-pointers, so that's not really a saving spot for him. Usually if you have a bad field goal percent, you're maybe hitting outside shots. Nope. So honestly, I don't care what you do. And the Wizards already have guys that are basically out of the way. The big one is going to be if we can move Kyle Kuzma out of the way. I don't know how easy that's going to be. They might have to take pennies on the dollar for him. Does that then open up enough consistent usage for Coulibaly? So we've made it this far. We're 2 weeks and a day from the trade deadline. Just hold through that if you've made it this far on Bilal. And then Kuzma, I don't care what you do. You can drop him. You can hold him. It doesn't matter. He's bad for 9, Cat. Dorian Finney-Smith had 16 points. You can ignore that and stick to what we know, which is that AD, LeBron, Austin Reeves, those are the easy ones for the Lakers. With D'Lo gone, those guys all have to do a ton on offense every game. And then the fourth option is Max Christie, who's kind of in his head right now, but he's still got 31 minutes mostly because JJ Redick wants to tell him that they're going to let him play through whatever it is that he's going through right now. He's making goofball decisions. His shot isn't falling all of a sudden, but he still blocked 3 shots, and he's still fighting his tail off to try to guard people, which you can't say for everybody else. So this is obviously the bad. There are going to be bad stretches. If he warms back up again, then you'll get sort of the good stretch. Over the last month, Max is number 129. That's relatively sustainable for him. If he gets hot, he moves inside the top 100. If he cools off, he falls a little bit behind that. But the defensive stats, the threes, tend to float his value. He's also a good foul shooter. He's Mr. Boring. He could be the very end of your bench guy in head-to-head. He could be the, I need to have a guy on my roto team because my turnovers are too damn high. But he's not going to be entertaining. There's really nothing there. There you go. That's your whatever the hell Tuesday recap. I'm sorry, guys. I'm still a little bit out of it. Floating in the clouds. Here's what's coming up on Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. I feel very confident that we will get another show done today. I really hope that I'm right about that. I have confidence, but maybe it's misplaced confidence. Maybe I'm an idiot. Maybe it doesn't matter because maybe this show is brought to you by our friends at UnderdogFantasy.com. Tomorrow, if both of my kids are in school, which would be the first time that that's happened in 2025, basically. I think there was one day, the day before the fires, January 6th, both of my kids were in school at the same time in their proper schools, like within driving distance. And that was a magical day. And remember, we had a 3-week winter break before that and a 2-week fire and influenza break after that. So, I mean, I'm basically sitting on like 5 straight weeks where I haven't had a normal work day. And I have this inkling. I have this fleeting hope that tomorrow might be that day. And if tomorrow's that day, dude, we're doing an Underdog Fantasy lineup together tomorrow. It's going to be a blast. First of all, here's why. So, by the way, the link in the show description, that's a great way to sign up at Underdog, or use the promo code OLDMAN. Make sure they know who sent you, and if you do that, you get this deal that you can see on your screen. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash. I'm going to zoom in. Whoops, I zoomed in too far. Get up to $1,000 in bonus cash on a 50% deposit match. And as I scroll down ever so slightly, Jason Tatum is the gimme pick today. All he has to do is score 1 point. So obviously you're going to put that in your lineup. So let's get Jason Tatum higher in our lineup. And then I'm going to click on over to NBA because I don't know the first thing about NFL. And I don't ever plan on it. And we'll look at some of these other things. Look, we already know that a bunch of guys just got ruled out for Brooklyn. So, Noah Clowney, do we want to look at it? I hate that there aren't more spots where you're looking for unders Unders are great because you're always going to get better odds on those. But like, let's see what other options they have for Brooklyn. Noah Clowney, if he plays and all these other guys are out, we could throw in a 13.5 over for Clowney. That's intriguing. What about the rest of the games here? We got Detroit and Atlanta. I haven't heard much about the. You know me. I'm going to. Oh, the following projections are inactive. All right, so Noah Clowney got taken off the board, maybe because half of the Nets got ruled out. But in any event, I mean, look for some of these things. Make your lineup. Punch in your dollar amount, $15. Let's see. We got to get somebody else in there with Tatum. Who do I want? Daniel Gafford? Maybe let's go big on Gafford. Higher, 23.5 point board and assist. Dereck Lively's out for the year. Whatever. I mean, you scroll through them. Find what you like. Tari Eason. Can we get a steals one? No, I don't have a steals one on Tari Eason. That's the way to go there. Look, you got Utah, OKC. Larry Markkinen got ruled in. If a bunch of his teammates get ruled out, there's an opportunity there. Maybe Utah plays there, guys. In any event, this is how you do it. You scroll through the board. It's so simple and so straightforward. You find entries where you want to go higher or lower. Look at their projections. Put your lineup together. Bada bing, bada boom. Have some fun. Play a game. Again, promo code is OLDMAN, OLDMAN, or just click on the link in the show description. That's our referral link. Again, when you make that first deposit, you get a 50% deposit match bonus. Here's why we're going to do this together tomorrow on Underdog. We're going to do this together because my good buddy Brenton Eckersley has already told me he's recording a DFS snack size episode for tomorrow here on our network. I'm going to listen to that show, and I'm going to see who he likes, and then I'm going to do that in my Underdog card. The only question is, am I going to go 1 pick, 2 picks, 3, 4, 5? You know me. I don't like to shoot the moon. Massive parlays are insane. But obviously, if I put $10 on like a 5-person parlay, what would that even pay here? How many names I got on the list so far? So 2, that pays 3 to 1 or 2 to 1 here. I don't know. Let's just throw a couple other names on the list. All right, so if I get all 4 correct, my 15 turns into 150. So pays $90 here. What's this flex? I don't know what the flex is. I'm learning on the fly. Anyway, we're all going to hang out tomorrow. We're going to play Underdog together with Brenton's DFS info. It's going to be a freaking wingding. Like, rate, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, everybody. Back with you later on today or later on in the evening. I haven't decided when it's going to air. We will get that second show out. I feel good about that. For now, find me on social at Dan Bespris. This is Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. Like, rate, and subscribe on your way out. And please remember to like our trade deadline live show. We have 2 weeks and 1 day now to get the other 450. I got no shot, but we can try. So long.